Hey, what's good with you guys? This is Ronaldo Hernandez. Today I'm back with another video called Fixing and Sampling Triceps Syndrome Part 2, addressing Thoracic Outlet Syndrome. Alright, now, disclaimer, I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a licensed individual. This video is just for educational purposes. Another thing I want to say too is don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Like, comment the video, or share the video if you want to, and subscribe to the channel. What else? And feel free to email me anytime too. I'll post my email in the description below. If you have questions about any of this, or you just kind of want to talk and kind of ask about what needs to be done, or need help or any guidance on this situation. Another thing too I want to say is I forgot. I'll come back to me. All right. Anyway, let's just get to it because it's gonna be a long video. All right. So now in the first part of the video, I talked about reasonable explanation to what type of triceps could be, and I mentioned thoracic outlet syndrome. If you didn't watch the video, I suggest you do. Just look into the channel. It's also under a playlist called Sappy Triceps Syndrome. But yeah, anyways, man, I'm gonna just describe what thoracic outlet syndrome is. I got my notes today too, so I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty much gonna read off all of this because it's a lot of information, and yeah, I'm not gonna remember all that. All right, so now thoracic outlet syndrome has the potential to cause numerous types and areas of pain, such as neuralgia in the chest, arms, between the shoulder blades, and the back, dizziness, brain fog, migraine, headaches, feelings of being heavy-headed, etc. Uh, reason why the potential symptoms are all over the place is because, in addition to compression of the entire brachial plexus nerve network, which innervates the arms as well as parts of the chest, neck, and back. It also may compress the subclavian artery and veins. A branch of the subclavian artery include a key vessel, the vertebral artery. The vertebral artery. The vertebral artery supplies the brain with blood, and therefore it's especially important to assess for symptoms of vertebral basilar insufficiency. Now, reason why these structures may become irritated or compromised is because of the continuous compression within the spaces that the nerve and the vessels pass through. This compression is mainly tightness of the surrounding muscles, and there is clavicular depression strangulating the thoracic outlet, vascular, and nervous structures. If you don't really have an idea where this is at, it's basically all right here. Basically all this area right here. The nerves and possibly the arteries and veins that pass through around here are being compressed, and most of the time it's either through muscular entrapment. However, in this case, in regards for Sappy Triceps syndrome, most likely it is the bone compressing the structures that pass through there. And I'll explain more in a minute. But most likely, though, this is the case just because if the bone is already compressing these structures, that's like worst case scenario. That's like also saying that, like, who knows what else could happen. And like I said, I'll explain that in a minute. Okay. Now, the main case of the muscular tightness and clavicular depression is faulty movement and posture strategies. I talked about this numerous times in my other videos. You can check that out on the channel if you want. And this could all be rooted in habits alone or triggered by injuries. Now, these habits that cause these, you could say, faulty movement, bad posture, and all that, is slouching of the neck, which is forward head posture, or slouching of the shoulders. Belly only breathing. The reason why it's only belly, the reason why the article says that is because I made a video about this too on how to breathe properly, but you're supposed to breathe through your whole body. I mean, belly breathing is good, but it's not there's more to it. You should be able to kind of expand. The chest should be kind of like expanding up. It should basically just extend up, and then you could say the ribs and the clavicle, muscles around the clavicle should expand as well too. They all should, I guess you could say, kind of rise when you breathe. And then on top of that, I also there should be like I want to say there should be more of a tilt going on when you breathe in too. Like your whole body should be extending when you breathe in. Alright, what else? Oh, and lack of diverse movement will cause the scalenes that form the intercostal triangle of which the brachial plexus pass through to inhibit or deactivate. This in turn may cause severe tightness of the scalenes, compressing all of the thoracic outlet structures. When he refers to the scalenes, he's actually referring to the anterior and middle scalenes. Posterior might have some to it, might have some contribution to it as well, but it's mostly the anterior and middle, and that's basically like the negative muscles that kind of they innervate around here. Alright. Now, the anterior and middle scalenes are involved in many actions. They elevate the ribs during inhalation, ipsilaterally rotate, which is just this, cause lateral translation, I think it's this, pretty sure it's that, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's that, flex, bend, no, laterally flex, oh, so that's that, and forward flex, bend the neck. In normal breathing patterns, the ribs and clavicles should elevate slightly during inspiration, like I said before. And is done in synchronization by the scalenes, trapezius, and several other muscles. Now, this part is also very important too because not only are the scalenes are kind of very severely tight and weak, but also the trapezius. Right? And I'm talking, and I want to say specifically more the upper trapezius, but to be honest, though, the trapezius is just one whole muscle. It's just upper, middle, and lower portion. But anyways, because the trapezius muscle hosts the scapula and clavicle, the loss of optimal function of this muscle will cause chain reactions of muscular inhibition down the line of the arm. So once this muscle becomes very severely irritated, becomes severely weak, it's gonna also cause you to kind of slouch more. It'll be harder to keep your shoulders backing up, and if this muscle's not doing its job and keeping your shoulder girdle stabilized, you're gonna be more at risk of compressing the brachial plexus, compressing the nerves, and possibly the arteries and veins to pass through in our neck structures. And once that happens, there's gonna be all this kind of like muscular inhibition going on, and this type of neuralgia and like crazy symptoms that one can develop. Okay. Now this is important when there is precompression within the scalenes and costo-clavicular passage, as this is sensitive. As this sensitizes the whole nervous chain and make the distal branches more vulnerable to additional irritation, which is basically what I just said before. I should have read that and I said what I said earlier. But yeah, basically, once the trapezius, if the trapezius gets so severely weak and they can't stabilize the shoulder girdle anymore, who knows what type of like symptoms will come across. You will encounter because of this inhibition. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is brachial plexus compression site. Now, compression directly to the brachial plexus is the most common driver of thoracic outlet syndrome. It's comprised of two main entrapment zones, which are the interscalene triangle and a costo-clavicular passage. The interscalene triangle is usually the main entrapment point. When the scalenes are very tight, they also elevate the first rib, furtherly reducing the space between the rib and the clavicle, increasing the potential for compression within the costo-clavicular passage. Compressive forces within the interscalene triangle will affect all of the thoracic outlet structures and may thus cause all of the symptoms that were mentioned. If the costo-clavicular space is compromised, which is more serious than muscular entrapment, because the bones will be compressing the nerves, which is what I said earlier. And this is gonna be very important because this part right here is where damn, my voice cracked. But this part right here is where it's related to sappy triceps syndrome, and this is basically, once I read this part, this is where I kind of had an epiphany, like, this is most likely one of the main reasons why sappy triceps occur. So now remember, this is again if there is compression of the costo-clavicular space, which is when the actual clavicle is the one compressing the interscalene triangle and the costo-clavicular passage. Now, most commonly, the inferior trunk of the brachial plexus will be affected. This is because it lies anteriorly of the trunks, making it more susceptible to compression. Inferior trunk compression will usually cause weakness of the fifth finger, the ulnar nerve, and sometimes triceps and axillary nerves, which is also basically which is where the radial and axillary nerves innervate. If significant weakness is discovered, it is an utmost high priority to decompress the costo-clavicular space. Alright, so the structures so right here, this part right here, inferior trunk compression will usually cause weakness of the fifth finger or ulnar nerve, basically said it. Sometimes triceps and axillary nerves, radial and axillary nerve. Now this is the area where I talked about in the first part of the video, where I would get pain in like the posterior, right where the posterior armpit is at, and like the back of the shoulder and all that. And that's in relation to radial and axillary nerve compression. So, however, for the ulnar nerve and the axillary and radial nerves to be compressed, most likely it's coming from somewhere else, and it's this right here, compression of the costo-clavicular space, which is because of the actual clavicle is compressing it. So now, shit, that's the water. Alright. So, like how I said in the article, it said that it's an almost high priority to decompress that space, and obviously it should be a high priority because that's what's really causing all the compression that's going on. So, now to do that, obviously you have to take a strengthening protocol towards strengthening the trapezius muscle and this anterior middle scalenes. However, like I said before, I'm always going to say it in all these videos that before you even try to do any strengthening, you got to fix the posture and you got to fix your breathing mechanics, because none of the strengthening protocol is going to work if you haven't addressed that, if you haven't fixed that at all. And I mean that from experience, man, because or woman, I don't know who's watching this, but yeah, like I tried doing the strengthening protocol first before, and I didn't get anywhere. If anything, kind of made things worse. It wasn't until I actually fixed my posture, I started breathing better, and I finally learned how to. I finally knew what was proper scapular mechanics. that's when things started actually kind of working, because like your posture has to be good for you to activate. I mean, mostly like any muscle, to be honest. Like everything needs to be in place for you to activate the muscles you want to activate. You know, your body works as a unit. You know, if one part's not really working, you know, it might cause you to kind of, I guess you could say, compromise one area for another. And then when that happens, I mean, technically you're not even kind of targeting the area you want to work on. So that's yeah. I'm still gonna make more videos about this, but I just wanted to talk about thoracic outlet syndrome, and hopefully this video gave you an idea of maybe this is something you're dealing with, maybe you do have symptoms of this, or maybe you already know. You just wanted to find more information, or kind of like confirm that, you know what, yeah, like me having Triceps syndrome, I knew that I was kind of also noticing that I had symptoms of thoracic outlet syndrome too, you know, and this guy just kind of confirmed it because he has the same thing too. And I even talked to a few other people, and they have also mentioned a lot of the same similar symptoms that they were dealing with, that I described here on the channel, which is like, you know, all these areas of, you know, neuropathy, shoulder pain, constant shoulder pain, severe tightness, and there's another video I'm going to talk about too, but it's things to do with the hips, you know, sway back posture. Most of the time, people who have, well, from reading from the article, from me reading from the article, is most people with thoracic outlet syndrome also deal with sway back posture. So yeah, I want to address that too, because to be honest, you have to address everything. Like you just have to. It's gonna take a lot of work too. I want to say that, like, it's gonna take a lot of work. You know, you're gonna be in for, I guess you could say, a long journey. Um, and I mean that because, like I said in other videos, I've been going at this for a long time, and it's just, you know, for you to develop these kind of symptoms, it's also kind of like it took time for that to happen too. So it's gonna take time to recover. It's gonna take time to undo all this, you know. But anyways, man, there is hope. You know, there is, you know, a chance for you to be, you know, a normal person or whatever, feel like a normal person, this and that, or just not deal with this, you know, pain constantly. Um, but yeah, anyways, hit me up if you wanna talk more about this, or, you know, like, comment the video, or comment what else you wanna know, and I'll make a video on it. Um, and yeah, so thank you for tuning in, and this is the Fast Life.